Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome to a new episode from our Myth or Truth series. I think we are on episode 21. Today I have more myths to bust. They might be truth as well. Last time we had a lot of truths. And speaking about last time, I have a few more stuff that didn't make the cut that I filmed last time. We're gonna start with them and then we're gonna continue with other myths that I have here. So I will try to get to as many of them as possible. Right, so with that said, before we start, this video is of course sponsored by repotme.com and this series as well. Now, rePotme offers you everything you could possibly need to properly take care of your orchids, from pots to potting mixes, fertilizers, accessories, and everything in between. And not only for orchids, but also for other houseplants as well, such as cacti and succulents. Now, I'll link it down below to their website. Feel free to check them out at any time. I'll also share with you the products that I've been using for a lot of time, and I think you will greatly enjoy as well. And with that said, let us start. So first, a few myths that didn't make the last episode, but I filmed back then. So cue in the outfit change. Epic Sushi, very cute name, is saying, can epiphytic orchids be potted in rocks? This is another truth. We don't have myths today. Okay, I'm gonna get one more after this one and we're done, okay? So this is true, yeah. And it's exactly what I talked about in the first myth or truth. You can pot your orchids in anything that allows for watering, allows for air, and also is not physically or chemically damaging. Rocks, they're depending on the rock, but most rocks are perfectly fine. And yes, you can grow your orchids in rocks. How are you gonna handle watering? I don't want to think about it. It gives me anxiety thinking about it. Good luck. Good luck with that watering. Maybe your environment helps, but like, oh man, that sounds like nightmare in my environment. We have one more. Let's see if this one is a myth. OZ is saying, you can control the direction. No, it's true. You can control the directions of growth of sympodial orchids and make them grown in any shape you want. Okay, that's partially true. I wouldn't be so sure of myself that I can control everything the orchids do, but yes, you can actually control the way they grow, and particularly with light. If you don't want to apply a physical action like staking the cane or shaping it by pushing or by tying it in a way, you can control the shape or direction of growth with light. You know how sometimes some orchids like to grow their growths like almost horizontal? Well, what I do is rotate them in such a way that the light is behind the direction of growth of the new growth, so that the growth does a little bit of a U-turn there and starts to lean more towards the light. And in the end, when it matures, I can actually stake it or tie it to be a little bit more tidy. But light works pretty much all of the time with most orchids. Given some will have a mind of their own and they will do whatever they so desire. So that's why I'm saying it's partially true. And even if sometime it will obey you, there will be that one time when it's just not going to listen, it's not going to behave, it's gonna grow however it feels like. All right, and here we are to present day. I'm gonna film as many myths as possible and we'll see how we fit them in the video, because sometimes these videos can get like 40 minutes long. And that's too much, right? Well, I can blab a lot. But anyway, let's continue with a myth or truth sent in by Rakashith. If a Phalaenopsis has stopped growing newer leaves, then it most likely is in spike or is about to spike. And that is partially true. I mean, most likely, yes. Phalaenopsis do tend to cease all vegetative growth when the temperatures drop and when flower spikes are initiated. That being said, sometimes our environments are not really as precise as their natural environment. So maybe if you have an extended summer and then abruptly you will get low temperatures, the orchid might be halfway through creating a new leaf. It can actually stop and focus on flower spikes, or it can grow the new leaf at the same time with the flower spikes. That is not a very likely scenario, but sometimes they do that. Also, for me, in the spring or towards summertime, while they still have flowers, they start to grow new leaves and roots. But typically, yes, this is how they grow. They take, let's say, a break from growing leaves and roots and start growing flower spikes, and then When the warm season comes and the flowers fade away, they start growing vegetatively again. But as I was saying, you can have any scenario in between. They have evolved to really work together with their environment there. Our environment is very alien for them, so they're doing their best. That's why you can get all sorts of quote-unquote anomalies. So nothing to worry about, but theoretically, you are correct. This is how they should grow. Another myth or truth from Rakashi, this is a good one. I actually wanted to talk about this one. Up-potting is better than repotting orchids because there is less damage to the roots and no setback. False. That is a myth. It's an optical illusion, if you will, and I will tell you why. So for those of you who don't really know what up-potting means, you simply get the orchid out of its pot, and instead of removing all of that medium from the roots, you just take everything and put it into a bigger pot and then put medium around the initial root ball and medium. So practically you are burying the old medium in there. You might be tempted to think that, oh, I saved so many roots because I didn't bother them at all, I didn't break them, I didn't scratch them. Yes, you did not. And yes, at least for a while, things might go well. Your orchid might not be set back and everything will be rosy until that fateful day when that old medium starts to break down. Case in which I predict it will have a snowball effect. It will start to affect the new roots slowly and surely, and at some point you will wake up with a dehydrated orchid and you don't know why, and then you're gonna unpot it and everything will be mush. Now that's scenario number one. Scenario number two, you're using inorganic medium. Aha, Danny, I got you. No. At some point, the old roots will die off. In I don't know how many years, all of the roots will die off. They do regenerate, they don't live forever. Some orchids keep their roots for longer than others, but others do regenerate their roots every few years. So yes, you will not have a breaking down medium in the center, but you will have breaking down roots because they're very, very old. Case in which you will go through the same scenario. You're gonna wake up one day with a stinky mess and a lot of mushy roots, and you're gonna be like, what happened? That can happen. Will it happen right away? No, I cannot tell you how long in the future it will be. You can up-pot an orchid and then in 1 year it will be fine, and then you're gonna do a good job in 1 year and everything will be rosy. That can happen. Again, there are many scenarios, but do not be fooled by what you see initially. I actually just watched a video. I'm watching this new channel from an orchid grower, Nicole Diane. Oh, what's her name? I really enjoy her content, so let's give her a shout out. Nicole Diana, I think. So I recently saw a video with some orchids that she had in semi-hydro. They worked great for 2 years, and after 2 years, they just started to die off. And she found some neophanesias with rotten roots and was like, oh my goodness. So 2 years, they've been doing okay, and all of a sudden, disaster. That can happen. And even if in that case was maybe the setup which turned out not to be okay for her, semi-hydro wasn't okay for me either, and it took me 2 years or so to figure that out as well. So that can happen with a new setup. Imagine if you don't change organic medium and you let it there in the pot. After a certain amount of time, you might see your orchid losing fans one after the other, or growths or leaves, or getting dehydrated, and you're gonna be like, what happened? I didn't do anything. Well, you didn't do anything now, but you did do a year or two ago. So don't be fooled. It is an optical illusion that up-potting is better. It is not. I will not change my mind on that, so I will declare this a myth. Next up, from Chloe Mayo. When you keep a Phalaenopsis next to a window, rotating its position a few times a month ensures that the stem and new growths point upwards. False. I tried it many years ago. Now, if you're a beginner with Phalaenopsis and you don't know this, let me tell you, Phalaenopsis will not grow upright like they look like when you purchase them. In the nursery, they have light from above, and also they have a sleeve to keep them upright. And they only keep them that way for the first few years of their life. And then when they're mature enough to send their first flower spike, they sell them, but they're not completely mature. They will grow more in our care. As they age and grow, they will start to tilt, some more than others, depending on parentage. We'll get to that. So they will start to tilt because that's their natural habit. They will tilt towards the light. if you start rotating them, what you will possibly end up with is a leaf that's growing like this, a leaf like this, a leaf like this. So you're not gonna have a perfectly upright orchid, you're gonna have a wonky orchid. Some might do a U-turn. I had one that did that. Some might work out because they might have the Doritis in their parentage. They're all reclassified as Phalaenopsis now, but Doritis is a kind of terrestrial Phalaenopsis type orchid. It grows upright more than other Phalaenopsis, and the flower spikes go upright as well. So hybrids of that, yes, they can be more straight than others, but some Phalaenopsis tilt so much that if you start to rotate them, they will do this business. I had it happen, so I would not do that. You can try to, because if you don't know what parentage your orchid has, maybe it will work out, but don't expect it to work out every time. You will not have a miracle there happening, trust me. Next up, you can save a dying rootless Phalaenopsis orchid by putting it upside down in a half-filled glass, oh brother, of water, the leaves only. That's a tip a garden center worker showed me to save the dying orchids they have. I felt so bad for them. Listen, it's not the worker's fault. They most probably saw this on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, because I think there's also a video on YouTube. I've seen it too. It's a myth, obviously. Let me tell you why. So, and this goes for any epiphytic orchid, by the way, not just Phalaenopsis. What do orchids do when they become dehydrated? Do you know? They conserve water. How do they do that? They regulate their stomata openings. So through those pores, they exchange gas, and they also absorb water and nutrients. They also absorb water and nutrients through their epidermis, but in lower quantities as far as my research goes. So the big exchange goes through the stomatas. When they get dehydrated, whether from root loss or just not watering, they regulate and limit transpiration and breathing and all of these things by controlling their stomatal openings. If an orchid doesn't have roots and is dehydrated, it will be closed for business. And if it's closed for business, you can put it in a lake. It's not gonna start to absorb more water because the stomatas are kind of closed. What it will do is conserve all of that water and energy and put it into root production. That is number one thing that a healthy and normal quote-unquote Phalaenopsis will do. With hybridization, you know, the behavior, in my opinion, has changed. So some hybrids could work against themselves by blooming themselves to death or things of the sorts. But theoretically, what they do is shut down for the day and start to redirect all of that energy towards producing roots, because roots will give them the most hydration, not leaves. Leaves are not specialized to absorb all that much water. They can, but it's minimal compared to roots. They will not allocate all of that energy to the leaves, but to the roots. So if things are closed and you put it in water, what do you get? A big old nothing. Now, will you get roots if you do the upside down thing? Sure, you might get some roots if the orchid has some energy, but not because it absorbed water, but because it is programmed to do so. And I have a video in the Orchid Care for Beginners series where I took a leap of faith. I made a video at a particular date with very dehydrated orchids and almost rootless orchids, and 1 month later, I did an update with them having roots. But before I did the update, I filmed the orchid and I said, I'm gonna put it in a pot and next month you're gonna see roots. I didn't know if the orchid will produce roots, but it's scheduled. I took a leap of faith. So I said, well, it should produce roots. And it did, with me doing nothing. Because that's what they're programmed to do. So it's not the fact that you put it upside down or in water or you know, you could try to maintain it in a more humid environment so that you further limit transpiration and so on. But even that, you know, it's not gonna create miracles. It's gonna help a little bit. But what I truly believe is that what orchids need is pretty much themselves and some good conditions. A dehydrated orchid should not be left in the sun, right? We shouldn't do that. We should give it better conditions, like a nice shaded location, maybe a little bit of humidity there to help the roots not dry out, especially in the root area. That's what we can do to help it. But the real help comes from itself. I feel strongly about that, so yeah, that's why I insist on it. So no, that is a myth, and you know, people just see things and they take them as truths, because I don't know why people do that, but we should know by now the internet is full of lies. But yeah, all of these like clickbaity things you see on the internet, you know, maybe do a little research, see the credentials of the person who does these videos, because sometimes they just have all sorts of clickbait videos about a million topics, and they just have one about orchids. Are they really orchid growers? Maybe no. Maybe they're professional clickbaiters or YouTubers, you know? Who knows? So do some research. I will say this is false. It is my opinion, and I will take it with me to the depths of the universe. Alrighty, so that is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will get to other myths, if you didn't see your myth or truth, by the way, in the next episodes. I have everything here. I did a whole filming of a lot of them, so I might put them in different episodes. That's why the same clothes. So yeah, keep them coming. I love doing myth or truths, and I think you guys enjoy it too. So thank you again for watching. Thank you rePotme for sponsoring yet another episode. And with that said, I hope you'll have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!